California. But before I get going, please go follow me on all of the stuff. Kira Davis here on X, just Kira Davis on um, Instagram. That's the name of that platform. Instagram. Go find me on Facebook, Substack, just Kira Davis. Everywhere. If you just Google my name, which is crazy to me. Sometimes I think about that. I'm like, wow, it is kind of a privilege to be able to tell people Google my name and the top results are going to be me. I think that's kind of cool. So Google my name, you'll find out lots more about me. But if you know anything about me, you know that I am a huge supporter of Steve Hilton, the former Fox News host, former attaché to the Cameron government in the UK, and now candidate for governor of California, Steve Hilton. Full disclosure, we are friends. We've known each other for almost a decade. I met him when I was doing his show in Los Angeles when he had The Next Revolution with Steve Hilton on Fox. That's where I also met Charlie Kirk for the first time. That's how I got to know Charlie, on Steve's show. So we always have that connection. And so, of course, when Charlie endorsed Steve, I felt that I don't know. It was kind of cool. It was a full circle moment, right? We both started out really on Steve's show, and then we were both at Steve's launch event. I was there personally. Charlie sent in the video, but Steve is the only Republican candidate who has the Charlie Kirk endorsement, and that's very valuable for the base. However, that being said, there's a whole bunch of other people in California, and Hilton has got to go win those votes. Well, they all do. So the California gubernatorial debate was last night. I watched it. I wanted to just talk briefly about it. I don't want to belabor anything. You've got to get on with your day. I've got to get on with my day. But we definitely need to talk about what happened last night. Game changer, absolute game changer. So Steve Hilton was the lone Republican on that stage last night. And Chad Bianco, the only other viable Republican in this race. You know what? Let me take just one moment here to say this. I know that there are a few people in California, particularly in my county, in Orange County. I'm doing this podcast as my main podcast, just Kira Davis. That's my main brand. That's what I do. But I'm going to cross post this to my other show, which is the Orange Report. If you don't follow that, you should. It's an Orange County based news and politics show. And it's really for the Orange County crowd, but it's California news. So I think it goes a lot further than Orange County. But we do drill down on a lot of local issues. Anyway, I'm going to cross post this to the Orange Report. So there are going to be people watching this on the Orange Report who are local here in Orange County. And I've talked to them personally, and they've asked me to have these other Republican candidates, these lower level Republican candidates on my show. And I just want to say this. This is no time for experimenting. I understand, because I've been you in the past. I've been like, everybody should have their say. Everybody should be seen and heard. But if I've learned anything, particularly over the last 5 years, it's that the jungle primary system is set up to disadvantage Republicans. That's why we have it. That's why they're trying to push it in Idaho right now. That's why they're trying to push it in other states like Idaho, Nebraska. What's the other state that they're looking at? Ohio. That's a Democrat Marxist plan to thwart the Republican dominance. We're not the minority in this country, everybody. We're the majority. So Democrats have to come up with schemes to thwart our dominance at the ballot box. This is why I do think Steve Hilton can win. We know this state's a lot redder than most people outside of our state think. But even the Republican strategists, even the people who have the numbers, who will tell you there's not enough Republican votes in this state, I don't buy that either. I know we have the 3 cities, but I don't even think the polling can be relied upon, and it does not reflect the general fatigue of the average average Californian, excuse me. So I think this is a big deal, is what I'm saying. It's a big deal. And I think that it's not the time to be messing about, is what I'm saying. We're only going to get one shot like this. We may get others in the future. I never say never, because God, always but God. But God is my whole life. So I never say never, but we're never going to get another shot like this. After I said I never say never, we're not going to get another shot like this though. What's happening now is very unique in the United States and in California. It's the same thing that's happening in the rest of the country, which is that Californians are exhausted. We're tired. It's getting really hard, even for the most dedicated of Democrat voters, to keep believing the lies when they're living the truth. We've had the fires, it's the economy, the border, everything is affecting us here. And we've had no relief so far, except for that border being largely closed. We're still living in cuckoo land in California. We haven't been able to catch up to the rest of the country yet, but I believe we can. But I do believe that it is going to take a massive, well strategized effort to win. And a lot of things are going to have to happen at the same time. A lot of things are going to have to align, and we're going to need a few miracles along the way too. But we just came through 2024. So this is my whole point. I'm not wasting my time on candidates who absolutely, not only can they not push through the primary, there's absolutely no way that they could win a general election. And any other election cycle, I might say, let them have their say. Let's entertain them. And they can still do what they want. They're free to, this is a free state, supposedly. They are free to go file. They're free to campaign. You're free to give them your money and put that into that campaign black hole. If you give any of these people money, I think that's foolish. I do, because you know they're not going to win. They can't possibly win. Some of them, I'm not even naming names because it's not worth it. Some of them are not even polling. They're not even breaking into the polling. So it's foolish to give them your money in an endeavor that is surely a losing endeavor. I'm not sure why you would do that, but I know that I rarely donate money to high level candidates. I save my donations for the lower level candidates, for the bottom of the ticket candidates. I rarely do, but I do offer my platform and my voice as a currency in elections. And I'm not going to offer my platform and my voice, which are both worth something. They're valuable. This is paid time, right? This is my entire career. So my voice, I just told you how you can Google me and I'll come up on the top of your Google research. So my voice is valuable. I'm not going to spend my value talking to and about candidates who have absolutely no chance of breaking through in any aspect. And like I'm even all for a candidate just running, knowing you're going to lose, but running to be a mouthpiece. Running, like, that's effective too. That's a thing you can do too. As a matter of fact, a lot of times Republicans have been relegated to that when we don't even use that very well, right? Because we don't have a lot of great messengers in the California Republican Party right now, sad to say. Don't have a lot of inspiring figures. We have good, decent people. I've met a lot of them. We have good, decent people, but we don't have a lot of inspiring people. And so I'm not going to use my platform to add to the chaos. We have two main candidates for Republican governor right now, two viable candidates. And one of them is looking less viable by the hour, and that's Chad Bianco. And I know everybody is no one is wanting to go here, right? Everyone's feeling a little icky about watching Steve and Chad now. The insults are flying now. The Oppo research is out there. It's going to get ugly. This is campaigning. This is what it looks like, and this is what time it is. This is where we are. Okay? And one of these candidates needs to get out before the primaries, not after. We should not be litigating this at the primaries. Again, I go back to this. The jungle primaries are necessarily set up to disadvantage Republicans. And if we don't win the governorship, then we're never going to fix that. If we want to fix that, we've got to get someone in the governor's office, and then he needs a team of people who can fix that for us. It can be fixed. It can even be fixed. I believe there are ways to fix it at the gubernatorial level. It can be fixed. You're not going to fix it if we don't win. So this idea of the Republican primary being some kind of experimental battleground, I'm sorry, no offense meant, but that is a foolish and naive idea. And they depend on our principles to win, right? The Democrats depend on us sticking to these principles, like, well, this is just the way it is, and they don't plan on us strategizing. But you know who did strategize? Donald Trump in 2024. And you watch what he did, and look at the coalition he pulled together, and look at the amount of negativity that man had to overcome to win, not just win, but to win overwhelmingly and with an overwhelming mandate. So there is nobody in the state of California, no Republican who should be looking at me and saying, we can't win any of it. We have to do it this way. We need to get 2 Republicans into the primary. No, it's not going to happen. That's not what the jungle primaries are set up for. It doesn't work like that. On purpose. I'm trying to tell you, on purpose. I'm not saying it because that's how I think it is, or that's how I hope it is, or that's how I suspect it is. It's on purpose. That's why Democrats always push jungle primaries in red states. Go see Idaho. Go see Ohio. It's not just us. It's a national movement meant to change our very primary system and make every state a blue state. You're a fool if you fall for it. And the only way to get out of this is to not play their game. And the only way to not play their game in the primary election is to make sure we have one strong candidate who goes through the primaries with a mandate on his back. And then that's the guy we anoint, and that's the guy we put everything behind, and it has to happen before primaries. And Chad Bianco is not up to the task, and he proved it because he didn't show up at that debate last night. And I know a lot of you out there are going, well, it was the birth of his grandchild, and you can't miss that. And I know a lot of us older folks, we're at the other end of our lives, right? So we look back at what really matters. And we know that all of this is, nothing matters as much as your grandchildren or your children. And we know that. We have all these regrets on our end about the time we didn't spend. And so I know a lot of you are wanting to be forgiving about that. That's fine. I get that. But that was an excuse. I first of all, I don't believe that. I mean, I believe his daughter might have had a baby or whatever. His family might have had a baby. And congratulations, by the way, sir. That really is the ultimate blessing. It truly is. Mazel tov to you and your family on that. But this is, again, what I need you to understand about even him making that decision. This is what leaders must sacrifice. This is why very few people do it, and even fewer people do it well. Leaders have to sacrifice family time. They have to sacrifice their own personal comfort, their own personal desires. And on the campaign trail, it is brutal. And there's probably after that debate performance last night, I doubt anyone's going to give the Republican candidate another shot at a debate. We barely get, I mean, we were lucky to get that debate last night. We probably won't have another one. I'll be surprised if we do, if we pull that off. Maybe we'll have one in the general when it's one-on-one, but we're not going to have another debate like that. That was Chad's chance, is what I'm saying. If you're running for governor and you're saying, I know that this state is under duress and we're not going to be okay, and I'm so desperate to save our state that I'll do anything, and then you don't show up at that first gubernatorial debate for any reason, it's an immediate disqualifier. It is. It's not because we don't want him to go enjoy his family, and not because that's not the ultimate value, but because the type of sacrifice and commitment this position takes, it is very distasteful. It is. And you need the type of person who can say, yeah, I'm willing to come out of my temporary comfort for this temporary fix, for this temporary victory. I'm willing to lay it all on the line. Chad Bianco proved last night that he was not. That was the field was not intellectually tough. We'll get into that, but it's still tough to be a Republican and show up at those places. That was tough. And you piggyback that with the kneeling thing, and I'm sorry. And by the way, everybody, I held my fire on that for a long time because I do believe in this process. And I did believe that both Steve and Chad were strong candidates and the voters deserved the opportunity to watch them go head to head. I've actually never welcomed anyone else into this race, and I still won't. But for those two, I have always thought, and I have friends that love Chad, and I have friends that are actually running with Chad as part of like his team. So I don't have any personal feelings of animus towards Chad Bianco, and I thank him for his service. But I watched that video. I did. Well, I've watched it dozens of times by now. You watch it yourself. Don't look at the still shots and don't accept Chad's explanation. You watch it yourself and you tell me what you see. What I see is a bunch of rioters, a mob screaming at the sheriff, telling him, take the knee, take the knee. And that's the words they use. They don't say kneel with us or bow with us or pray with us. They say, take the knee. It was a command. Take the knee. They're screaming it over and over again. And then what did he do? He took the knee. That was the moment, because for a long time I didn't watch the video. I just saw the stills, and knowing how people speak about Chad and my friends who love Chad, and even knowing some of the great things that he's done in Riverside County, I just I for a while there I thought, well, maybe yeah, it was a rough situation. He was just praying. It wasn't until I watched the video that I changed my mind completely. Those people yelled at him. And by the way, look at this. If you just want to go by the still shot, look at the still shot. And you will see the BLM leader of that particular mob, standing in front of Chad and Chad kneeling in front of him. That man didn't get on his knees with Chad. It's not a good visual. That man didn't get on. He thank you and come to his knees with Chad. We're brothers in this. We're equal. He was happy to see that white man kneeling in front of him. It gave him satisfaction. Chad did that. So who else would that made me ask the question? And I know this sounds harsh. It does. And I hate to be this harsh because I do believe that Chad and his wife are really trying to do the best thing for that they know how for California. I actually believe that. I do. And I hate to be so negative. I hate this part of the game, but this is part of and it's not a game. It's very serious. And I hate this part of the business, but this is what it is. And now we got to start being honest. So for the longest time, I held my fire on Chad and I kept my powder dry. And I hope some of you will respect that as I tell you the truth of what I think about Chad, which is he's not ready for prime time. And I mean that with all respect and as much love as I can convince you that I have. I mean that. He is not ready for prime time, because if he would kneel in front of that crowd as they commanded him to kneel. What's he going to do when the pressure is on in Sacramento and it's 1,000 times worse up there, 1,000,000 times worse? It's so bad up there. You've got to go in already connected. This is why I love Hilton's platform, because it's a team he's going in with. He's running a coalition, AG, lieutenant governor, controller. Yeah, that's it so far, but like that's the team that he's running. And I know he really wants to partner with somebody for superintendent of public instruction. That's the big education office up there. I would love to see. I love Sonia Shaw. I am such a big fan. And I think she's like genuinely, and I mean this, genuinely the most effective school board member in California and maybe in the United States. I don't know the United States because I don't really keep up with the school boards in other states, but I keep up with our California school boards. I sure do. And that woman is a trendsetter, and she's gonna win. She probably will win if the people that she aligns herself are able to, protect her from the onslaught of Democrat nonsense. And now we're in the dirty part of the campaign season, right? This is where, as I just said, this is where the stuff comes out. So I just don't think Chad can do it. And I think he's going to end up costing Republicans. This idea that we're going to have, let me speak to this, the idea we're going to have 2 Republicans in the jungle primary that they're going to push through. That is incredibly naive. That is incredibly naive. And some of you that have said that to me over the last few months, or a few weeks really, are the very people who tell me you don't even really feel excited to go vote anymore because you don't think your vote counts. It's like, do you think the Democrats are really going to let 2 Republicans pull out of the jungle primary? It's not going to happen. Even one is going to be a heavy lift, but we can do it if we get behind one candidate before the primaries. This means that some people are going to have to swallow their pride. And the way we do that in politics, the way we work that out is twofold: money and energy. Money, who's raising the most money? Who's got the donor funds? That's Steve. I can tell by how quiet Chad's campaign is being about their fundraising at this juncture that Steve is outraising them handily. Handily. I think Steve Hilton raised, I think for January, 4 million for January, maybe more. For January alone, I think that's what Chad did in like the previous year, the previous 6 months. The donor class is starting to jump ship, and that's really important. I know it's distasteful. I know I don't like it, but you can't win elections without money behind them. And that even the money, you still need the energy, right? Look at Kamala. She raised $1 billion and ran the worst campaign in American history. So money is not everything. And here in Orange County, we know that. We have a lot of people who run every year for something because they just have a lot of money and they get money behind them and they're successful in Orange County politics, but they're not effective. They just keep getting elected because they have enough money to do it and they have enough connections, Republicans and Democrats alike. A lot of Republicans. That's neither here nor there. That's not what this show is about. But so money is important, but look at energy. You need energy. And in the closing days of any campaign season, one of the best gauges of how well a campaign is doing on the ground is the energy level. Remember in the final waning days of Trump's campaign, where the polls were doing what the polls do, it was close. But if you looked at where the energy was, it was all on Trump's side. Look at New York. New York City is a great example of that, actually. It's a perfect example because that one didn't go a Republican way. Perfect example. Mamdani towards the end, where did this guy come from? It was so crazy, but at the end, it didn't matter. What mattered was the energy. And when you compared the energy in his campaign to the energy of the other people, there was no comparison. And then he won handily. So energy matters as well. Chad does not have the energy. And now in my opinion, again, I don't have all the resources to back this up, but I do feel confident in saying this. In my opinion, Chad does not have the donor juice either. He's stalling out. So we cannot go into primaries with a stalled out with one of our only two viable candidates stalled out. The best case scenario here, to my mind, is Chad drops out before the primary and releases those Republican votes. He sends them, and you should do this before it gets too ugly, Chad. I do think this, so that neither of you is too dinged up. This is the other thing that happens in primaries. And this is, again, this is business, people. This is the business of politics. I've been doing this long enough to know this is just how it goes. Everybody will be friends when this is over. I promise. We'll all be on the same team. We will be. Because we're all Team California, and so is Chad. That's why I like Chad. That's why I wanted him to have a fair shot at this, and why I kept my powder dry for so long. Even though Steve is a personal friend and somebody who I had supported for governor since I knew he was even thinking about it, I still believe in the system, and I believe that Chad had the right to make his case, but he hasn't made it. He hasn't done it, and now we're up against the wall. We have to go into the primaries. So I think what Chad has a really unique opportunity here, because it's not fair that he has to consider this. He's put in a lot of hard work and effort, and so have the people on his team. And I know some of them personally, and I know what they have sacrificed. They have put in a lot of work. His wife, to be the wife of a candidate, the wives do not get enough credit. So kudos to you. They have put in their time, and of course they don't want to give up so easily, and they shouldn't give up easily, and they shouldn't look at it as giving up. They should look at it as winning. They should look at it as being a team. We Republicans are a team. So to my mind, yes, I was very impressed with Steve's performance. Yes, I think he can be the leader that California needs. But to my mind, in this instance, this is actually an opportunity for Chad Bianco to be a hero, to be the guy that says, you know what? Yes, I am running strongly, but we're up against a machine that no one else in America is facing and has proven to be an unbeatable enemy so far. And when I look at these numbers and I look at what needs to happen to win back this state, I see that we need to put in a team effort. And as somebody who is putting my family first, and California first and the other candidates first, the other candidates who this campaign also might be hindering as we flounder for better press and better publicity. Instead of putting everybody through that, I'm going to get out of this race and I'm going to endorse Steve Hilton, and I'm going to endorse it, but more than that, I'm going to endorse his voters and his platform. I'm going to endorse this ideology. If Chad drops out now, it's an endorsement for the Republican Party. It's not giving up. Although I can only imagine that it feels like giving up when you're the candidate, because it's a tough slog. It's a tough anybody who's run any election race knows it's tough, and it is. So I do feel, again, I just want to be very clear here that I have all the feelings about it. I'm not trying to be cold, but I'm 51 and I've been doing this job for almost 20 years now, and I've been through election cycle after election cycle now, and I know the business and I understand it, at least more than I ever have. This is where we are. This is the moment we're in. So this is the point in time in California jungle primary elections when Democrats go, don't worry. This is what they're doing right now, people. They're going, don't worry. Yes, we have a bunch of people on that stage, but don't worry about them, because the Republicans are going to eat their own. And by the time we get to the jungle primaries, they're going to cancel each other's votes, and we're going to get two Democrats through the top. They're not worried. That's why they had six. We'll talk about this. There's 6 candidates on stage. They all sounded exactly the same. And it all fell flat. Usually they were all using their same kind of like Black Lives Matter and social justice, and we're here for poor people and women and trans and LGBTQ, all the things. They all sounded the same. They went to the same well, and that well was dry. It barely got response from the audience. But as a Californian sitting at home watching it, I thought they all sound the same. And Hilton was the only one who could distinguish himself as a Republican. And he didn't try to do the thing that past Republicans have done, which is try to moderate it and make it sound more like I'm just like Democrat light. No, he stood out. He stood his ground. He did what Chad should have done when those people told him, take the knee. Instead of kneeling in that moment when Steve Hilton had the opportunity to shrink or lead, he led. And that's the guy I want to be my governor. Not Chad, but Chad is not a terrible he's not even a bad person. I haven't seen any evidence of him being a bad person. This isn't about his personality or his love for the Lord or for the state of California. He is a bad candidate, and he's not going to win. But he might spoil the only other viable Republican in the race. That would make him a spoiler, which would be helping the Democrats. So he can be of service to Democrats, or he can be of service to Republicans, which is he is a Republican ostensibly, and he could be the hero here and unite this party and unite this base around Steve Hilton, and let's win. And then if Steve has any good sense, which he does, he'll make sure that Chad is out there working for California, doing what he does best in his arena. And there's all kinds of ways that he can contribute. There's thousands of appointments, thousands of offices that have to be filled. Lots of consultation needed. So a guy like Chad, yeah, just because he decides to put aside his personal ambition for the best of for the betterment of California doesn't mean he has to go away or he should go away. His experience matters. What he's done has mattered. I just don't think he's ready for prime time. And watching Steve in that debate last night, I don't think there was anything more clear. Let me, sorry. My computer's about to die here. Let me plug it in. Okay. So, I thought the best thing to do maybe would be to go through the the closing arguments. It's a 3-hour debate. Go back and watch it if there's nothing. Let me do the rundown before I play this next part, and then that's how we'll end. Steve won handily. Steve won handily, and that's not wishful thinking. That's not me being his friend and like hoping. I kind of think he won. No, no, no. Even the flash polling that Fox, it was Fox 11 LA, so not Fox News. Everybody, that's the local news channel, Fox 11. Excuse me. Um, Hush. Sorry about that. Fox 11 LA ran a poll, and they had Hilton um leading 70% was what he was polling at. 70%. And I was talking to my good friend. We were like on the phone. We were like, can you believe this? And she was like, I didn't even think it was true at first. I thought that was Matt Mahan's number. And I was like, oh, of course. Like the debate just ended. And of course, Matt Mahan already has 70%. No, it was Steve. This is not wishful thinking. His performance was killer last night, and I'll tell you why. Because everybody on that stage sounded the same except Steve, and he was able to say, "I'm the lone Republican." Also, every single one of those Democrat candidates, every last one, said, I'm running to fix this. I've been listening to Californians. It's a mess. Californians are tired. We're poor. They can't afford to live. They can't afford health care. And all of these people are the people that made it that way. And we all know it. So every time one of them spoke, all Hilton had to do was laugh. He didn't even need, all of his time. He didn't get as much time as other people in some respects, because you get extra time if people invoke your name. And a lot of people were invoking Matt Mahan's name, and we'll talk about that. But just Steve laughing when they talked was almost as effective as some of the stuff he said. Because it was absolutely insane to hear these people. And I believe even a large chunk, not the true believers, but a large chunk of the independent/Democrat voters who watched last night saw what I saw. I believe it without a doubt. And that's why post debate analysis on Fox 11 LA, not a single Republican on there, Fox 11 LA was no one won. Steve Hilton polling at 70% after that debate, and the best they could say, the anchors themselves on Fox 11, by the way, shame on you. Shame on you. What a pathetic showing of journalism from you people, from you Fox 11 anchors. Shame on you. It was pathetic. Your own poll was playing underneath you as you were saying, we really don't know who won. For shame. Anyway, yeah. So all the analysts were like, "Well, nobody won," and that's how you know that I'm not just being biased. Steve actually did win that debate, but not just because he sounded different. He actually made sense, and he had actual policy points. Everybody else had talking points. Previous to 2026 in California, that's enough to get you elected. In 2026, after the Palisade fires, it's different here. It's different. And a lot of you from outside of the state are looking at me, and you're turning up your noses, and you're rushing to my comments right now to tell me what a lost cause California is, but you don't know shit. So shut up. Pardon my French. I know this is being cross posted to Orange Report, and I don't really use salty language over there. I try not to use salty language on my podcast, period. I know a lot of people listen with their kids. A lot of people find it distasteful. I'm from a farming and fishing community. I grew up with salty language, literally lived on the ocean. So I apologize for that, but it is a reflex. But anyway. And if you're watching the feed, yeah, I am fanning myself right now, because guess what? Menopause. Anyways, that is the point, that Steve Hilton won handily last night, and he was able to distinguish himself. And I've never seen a Republican candidate do that. I've never seen a Republican candidate for governor do that. Not that there weren't people who couldn't have done that, but those people didn't get debates. In the past, we've had some other personalities running. This is what I'm saying, everybody. Everything's different now. This is why we don't have time, and we don't have the luxury of doing this, Republicans, the way we've been doing it for the last 20 years with the jungle primaries. We cannot play their game anymore. And since we're not allowed to set the rules of this game right now, we have to strategize how to win playing by their rules. How we win is one candidate through the primaries. And I know it's not fair. And it's not particularly American, but ladies and gentlemen, we're at war. It is foolish and naive, and frankly, I think it's ignorant. I think it's cruel, actually. It's foolish, naive, and cruel to think that you're going to run this election cycle like every other election cycle in California, and then if we lose, well, we go back to the drawing board. The people who say that already have their homes, their bank accounts, they're retired, right? They're not still raising kids. They're not. And their grandkids are gone. Because those kids have moved out of state because they don't have a future here, and they don't put two and two together. There's a lot of y'all out there who are comfortable where you live because you've already made your comfort, and you don't see where the rest of this state is. We'd like to get where you are, but we're not going to get there unless we win. And this election can't be business as usual. So all of those other extraneous Republican candidates that are out there sucking even a few hundred votes, they need to go away, and you're part of the problem if you're supporting them. It's too late for all this. I'm sorry, I didn't make the rules, and I didn't set it up this way. It's too late for all of this. If we want to bust this system, we need one strong Republican going through the primaries. And I don't care how you feel about Chad Bianco or Steve Hilton. All you need to do is go watch that Chad Bianco video of him kneeling and ask yourself, who else will he kneel to if the pressure gets enough? And ask yourself, did the man standing in front of him with the bullhorn kneel with him? He was quite happy to stand there and let Chad Bianco kneel with his head crotch level. That's quite the image for a governor of the 5th largest economy in the world. That's quite the image. Again, I'm being realistic, and I know where we are here, and I know what the optics are and what needs to happen moving forward in order to win. You can't win with an image like that. You cannot. I was going to play these opening statements here, or closing statements. All right. Let's share this screen. All right.
As you well know, this is a crowded field. It is time for our closing statements. For that, we ask you, what sets you...
Oh, I got my playback speed 2 times because who wants to listen to these people on full speed? Okay.
Part. We'll go in reverse order from our opening statements. Ms. Yee, you have 1 minute for your closing statement.
Great. Well, thank you to our moderator.
Okay. This is Betty Yee. I'm just gonna give you a little bit of overview. If you're from outside of the state, you don't know. This is Betty Yee. She is one of the LA supervisors, LA Board of Supervisors. Listen, Betty, don't know you as a human being. You don't sound, look, or carry yourself like a human being that would be interesting to me. That being said, I can only judge you by your politics and your presence. Betty Yee is the most useless, pointless candidate I have ever seen in my life, and I'm not sure why she's there. And if you're giving money to Betty Yee, you're an idiot. And you deserve to be taxed out of this state. I don't even know why she was there. She said nothing. Nothing she said mattered. She talked about wanting to fix things, but she's an LA supervisor. And I'll remind you that a year ago, half the city burned down.
To Black Action Alliance, KTVU, Fox 11, and everyone watching. It's important that we're here tonight because, as you just heard, all the polls show that this race is wide open.
No, it's not.
I think voters have had enough. I've been around the state. I've spoken to thousands of them.
It's wide open for Democrats.
Enough of the lies, the broken campaign promises, the billionaires trying to run the world.
The billionaires are all her donors.
I'm a no gimmicks, no nonsense, straight shooter. and a woman who gets things done.
Really? What's been done in LA?
I'm the only candidate who's ready to lead now. I don't need on-the-job training. And California can't afford a rookie in the governor's office. And we certainly can't afford a leader who thinks grandstanding is actually governing. You know, growing up on the west side of the city when things got tough,
she must be.
my mom used to always say, well, you know
Steve.
what we got to do. And we get to work doing it.
She said would
She's now 102 years old, and I still take her advice. I'm eager to get to work, to do what we got to do to make California better for all who call the state.
Thank you, Ms.
home.
Yee.
Everybody
I'd be
can
honored to
tell,
hear your vote.
right? Everybody knows she's the one who ruined it.
Antonio, 1 minute.
Like, how do you make this case?
We need a proven problem solver.
This is a
Someone
former
who's
mayor
done
of
it
LA.
before. We need somebody who will take on Trump, fight, restore affordability in this state. But we also need a uniter. You know, I grew up in the civil rights movement.
Someone who take on
My
Trump
entire
and be
life, I
uniter.
understood that we had to bring people together so we could move the country.
Okay, this is Villaraigosa. This was his whole performance. This guy is the definition of an empty suit. He's sort of like a male Betty Yee, but at least he actually was the mayor of Los Angeles. And so he's back for some reason. I think he just needs a job or something to do. He's definitely not going to win. He's just probably just filling up his campaign coffers. He just needs to pay rent. But every answer he gave, several, I grew up in the civil rights era. Well, when I was growing up, that's his every answer. And then he tells you a meaningless story about growing up. But you notice he said, I'm going to take on Trump, but then I'm also going to be a unifier. Well, Trump won overwhelmingly in 2024, including breaking new records here in the true blue state. The true blue state. I don't believe we're a true blue state. I don't believe that's a lie. In the true blue state of California, breaking records here and won the popular vote. So how are you going to unify people while taking on the very agenda they voted for? These people are idiots.
Country forward. The fact of the matter is, everybody, that the country is divided evenly. In this state, we're blue, but 25% voted for 25% are Republican, 40% voted for Donald Trump, and 48%.
Our elections are fraudulent. None of these numbers are real. California, red alert, our elections are fraudulent. We are not a blue state. I don't believe that, actually. We're not a blue state. Furthermore, after 2024, particularly after Doge, I've come to realize we're not an evenly split country. That's a damn lie. That's a lie they've been selling to us for years. We are not an evenly split country, and I refuse to even argue on that premise anymore, because it continues to make Democrats seem like a viable party. And to my mind, they are no longer a viable party. They have been lost. They have lost their way. They are no longer even an American party. Something desperately dark has happened over there.
Said, I'm open to a Republican governor. We need to work with everybody. We need to be able to say to this state, if you want to work hard and play by the rules, I'm for you. If you want to contribute and pay your taxes, whether you're an immigrant or you're someone that's been here for a generation,
There is no more hated person in the state of California than the taxpayer. No one is hated more.
for you. We need a state that focuses on getting things done, and is your candidate for governor, I'll be that person.
Thank you, Antonio. Superintendent Thurman, your closing statement.
Thank you for this evening.
All right, Tony Thurman. He is the former superintendent of public instruction. This is the position Sonia Shaw is currently running for and killing it. And she's doing so well. In fact, Gavin Newsom stripped most of the power out of that position before he left office, because it looks like she's going to go in there and win. She's still on the bubble like everybody else. We got to go through the primaries. And again, the split Republican ticket will have effects down ballot. So for races like Sonia Shaw's, that is going to be an issue with Steve and Chad going at each other. So pray for Sonia, and please go get her material, get a sign in your yard, go vote for her, share all her stories. Like, Sonia is, I've already praised her enough. She's got to win. All right. So this is Tony Thurmond. She had the privilege, by the way, something I'm very jealous of and will always be just, she had the privilege of shutting him down in one of her school board meetings that he attended. He, came to give her what for. He ran out of time and he thought because he was a member of the elites that he was going to get extra time. But guess what? No, everybody gets 3 minutes. So Sonia made sure to remind him he's just like us. Let's see what Tony had to say.
California is going through some very tough times. And as I think about my own life, I know what it's like to try to overcome tough times. My life has been a story.
This was Tony's entire argument. He started almost every segment off with, hey, well, listen. I've been through tough times too. Black people, black people, black people. That was a lot of Tony's. Black people, black people, black people. And again, another Democrat going, yeah, we're on tough times, but you guys did it to us. You've been the only ones in power. We don't have any power. There's not a single Republican in an influential position up in Sacramento. This is all laid at the feet of the Democrat Party. And this election cycle in particular, you cannot run away from it. There's literally no one else to blame. And so they have what the body language guys like to call a vanishing perpetrator. It's like, gosh, somebody did this. Who did this? Well, let's just talk about how bad it is. Like, where'd the perpetrator go?
Story of overcoming humble beginnings. I told you about my grandparents who were immigrants and descendants of slaves. I lost both my parents by the time I was 6 years old. My mom to cancer. My dad, who never returned from the Vietnam War. I met my father after finding him on the internet just about my 40th birthday. So I grew up in a household where we went without. When I finally got a job, it paid $3.35 an hour. I know what it is to have to work 2 and 3 jobs like many Californians are doing right now.
You did it
so
to
select
us,
a candidate who not only has the experience and the vision, but the lived experience of our Californians who are struggling. Together, we'll build 2 million housing units. We'll provide a tax credit for working Californians, and we will make sure that we provide.
This was Tony's solution to everything. I'll just give a tax credit. I won't play this section for you, but there was a segment where they talked about the gas tax or about the price of gas. Steve has been talking about how he has a plan to lower it to $3 a gallon. And it's a specific plan. He actually has, some steps there. He talked a little bit about it, and everybody else's argument is just, well, things are bad. Things are bad.
Good paying jobs for all Californians.
Good paying jobs for all Californians. I just want everyone, I'm just going to take this moment to remind everybody that Gavin Newsom has decided to reject the no tax on tips option for state taxes. And that President Trump thankfully gave us in the big, beautiful bill. Newsom has said he's rejecting that. So Californians will not be able to deduct their tips. But Tony Thurmond wants you to know that Democrats really care about the working class.
California can be better. Let's build it together.
Thank you, Superintendent. Mr. Steyer, 1 minute for your closing statement.
So I want to thank the Black Action Alliance again for having us here. And I want to say that to lower costs, we're going to have a governor who's willing to take on the special interests and raise revenue.
Oh, Tom Steyer is weird and creepy. His tie is crooked. His team failed. His hair is totally the wrong color. His makeup made him look drained out. And if you've watched his campaign ads, they are very bizarre. Clearly aimed at rebranding him. He's sitting in a forest, like man spreading with jeans on and cussing. It's so weird. Just cussing. I know I just talked about how I cuss, but I'm not running for governor. And anyways, I don't mind if my political candidates cuss, but I just want it to be authentic. But the problem is that these guys don't have any real passion. When Trump cusses, it's because he's passionate about something. They don't have any real passion, so that's why it always sounds robotic. And that's how Steyer is too. Everything he says is robotic. This is like his umpteenth shot at this office or some higher office. Tom Steyer is he's a Democrat weasel. And he's just got a lot of money. He's got a lot of money. He's funding his own campaign. He's got a lot of money. Thanks a lot, Tom. Thank you, by the way, for using hundreds of millions of dollars to fund your gubernatorial campaign instead of actually taking that money and just say, like, building houses. I almost flipped that guy off. Sorry. I forget where I am sometimes.
I've always stood up to them and I've always won. I took on the oil companies and beat them. I took on the tobacco companies and beat them. I took on multinational companies and beat them.
All right. So again, this is how disconnected the Democrats are. And all of them were making these same arguments. And they're meaningless now because everyone in America knows how fake all this stuff is. They don't, when you say I took on tobacco, well, a lot of Americans in California like smoking and they like having access to tobacco products, and they don't want the government telling them what to do. The vendors certainly don't. The businesses that have been driven out of California because of our ridiculous tobacco codes don't. Again, he thinks that's I took on big tobacco. No, we don't. That's bad. We think that's bad now in California because you took a lot of jobs and freedom out of that. And no, we don't. You took a lot of special interest corporate. We need jobs. You mean you drove them out? I took on the oil companies. We need gas. What do you mean you took on the oil companies? We're down to one refinery in this state. America's enjoying $2 a gallon gas and we're still up at $5.
And in every case, I brought billions of dollars to California without charging Californians a penny. Right now, the big tech CEOs are terrified about the idea of paying their fair share. Right now, they're supporting Matt. That's where they are. Who have I got? I've got the nurses. I've got the bus drivers. I've got the cafeteria workers. I've got the custodians. I've taken on the special interests 3 times and I've always beaten them.
He doesn't mean I have nurses and custodians. He means I have the unions, right? Nurses and custodians don't know who Tom Steyer is or ever want to be associated with him. He is the billionaire class he's complaining again about.
Billionaire who's going to take on the billionaires for working families.
Thank you, Mr. Steyer. A note for our audience. Our candidates agreed to no rebuttals during openings and closing. One other note, during our tech difficulties, we lost half of Mr. Mahan's answer when it comes to affordability. So we have agreed, Mayor Mahan, 90 seconds for your closing, sir.
Thank you, Tom. I've got about 3 billion reasons not to trust your answer on that, but I'll just say that, look, what sets me apart.
Mahan's the problem. Mahan's going to be a problem for everyone. My suspicion is that Mahan is going to split. He's going to spark a civil war among the Democrat candidates. Typically, this is a case of the way it works here, because again, our elections are pretty much fraudulent. We're running to fix this, but it's got to be a too big to rig kind of scenario, which can happen. But that's where we're at. Typically what happens is the next Democrat is anointed. So whoever that is, they run like a pretend race against some other pretend Democrats who earn a little money by filling their campaign coffers. And then they go and live off that until they run for another office. And then that person's our governor. Matt is not anointed. Matt has not been anointed to lead. And Matt's a bit too moderate. Now, do not get it twisted. If you go look at Matt's record in San Jose, he's very liberal. He's very progressive. He's a Democrat. But he's done a few moderate things that have somewhat helped San Jose, enough to talk about. One of the things is homelessness. He's done some work to address that by employing Republican principles to that as much as he can. They don't want him to do that kind of work there, and I don't think he really wants to do that work. But Matt Mahan, I have no idea. He's very new to the scene. I have no doubt that he is like this close to being swallowed up by the machine, because guys like that don't make it out with their integrity intact. They don't. Again, I've been in this business long enough to know. So he's on the cusp, I think, by looking at him. I'm not sure if but what happens is these people come next to you and they start giving you little favors, and they'll help you here and they'll help you there. And before you know it, you're in deep with them. And I think Matt's probably halfway through that process now. I'm guessing. It's a bit of an arrogant guess, but I think I'm right. I'm going to guess he's going to be there very soon. So right now he's kind of a normie. He sounds like kind of a normie. And the other Democrats don't like that because they have to run on their radical agenda, because that's the corner California Democrats have painted themselves into. And that, despite what you may think from outside of the state, that's actually the advantage here. That's actually an advantage for us. It's one of those things where they've just been winning so much, there's almost no more winning to do. You know what I mean? So they painted themselves into a corner. Now they have to take on the far left, radical, extreme agenda, or they can't get the money they need, and they can't get the support they need to push through the primary. So I think what might happen is the Democrat field might take care of Matt themselves. And you can tell that Matt was the threat because he was the one person besides Steve on that stage that got the most fire. There's a disadvantage to that too. I think Steve did it once, and I don't know if he could have avoided it, but it felt like a bit of a misstep, just a bit. But you have to address Matt. He's the elephant in the room right now. Democrats are getting excited about him. But when you address that person, you give that person an extra 30 seconds to talk. And Matt's actually really good at talking. He's one of the few Democrats. He's the only Democrat up there actually who is good at talking. And he's the only one who can sound normal. So you don't want to give a guy like that an extra 30 seconds, and attacking him does. So that's a disadvantage. That being said, I think, yes, he's going to be a problem for the Republican field because he's stealing their talking points. Kamala kind of did that towards the end. Didn't work for her, could work for him, because a lot of Democrat voters in California hate the Democrats, but they really, really don't want to vote for a Republican. So he'll be a challenge, but I do think the Democrats are going to take care of him themselves. And I really do not want to see this whole thing.
In this race is I am willing to tell the truth. And the truth is never as simple as a one-word answer.
Capitalism was never designed to help you thrive. It was designed to keep you exhausted. I hate that capitalism creates a hierarchy of
California debate
where essential workers can't afford essentials, and billionaires treat recessions like opportunities. I hate that profit gets prioritized over people.
I oppose the wealth tax
socialism
because it will send good, high-paying jobs out of our state and harm working families in the long run. We'll all pay more taxes for it. On the other hand, I will tell you, the wealthiest amongst us use loopholes in the tax code to avoid paying certain taxes, and we should close those loopholes, not destroy middle-class jobs. So the truth is that our politics has been oversimplified. It's become this blood sport between populists on both sides, and you deserve real answers, not the easy answers. And the way that we're going to move California forward is by getting our state government back to basics on the issues that matter most to you. Starting with the brutally high cost of housing, the human tragedy of untreated addiction and mental illness, the obvious failures of our policies to address homelessness, schools that are giving up on too many of our kids. And the way we move forward is setting goals, being honest that there are not simple answers, and holding ourselves more accountable for delivering for you.
There, thank you. Mr. Hilton, 1 minute for your closing statement.
So what sets me apart in this race is that I'm not a Democrat. And after 16 years of Democrat one-party rule that have given us the highest poverty, the highest unemployment, the highest cost of living in America, I think it's a very good thing. We don't need another Democrat. We need change. We've got the plans to make it happen. $3 gas, cut your electric bill in half, your first $100,000 tax-free, a home you can afford to buy. And that's how we make our state affordable. But the other thing that makes me different, I'm building a team. To get this done. For Lieutenant Governor, running with me, Gloria Romero, she was the former Democrat leader of the state Senate. Michael Gates, running with me for Attorney General to enforce the law. Herb Morgan, running with me for state controller to end the fraud in our government. That's how we make our state golden again, with the golden ticket and the team I'm putting together.
Thank you, Mr. Hilton. To our audience, please contain your comments. Secretary Becerra, 1 minute for your...
They did nothing. All right, let's stop sharing this. Secretary Baccaria is also up there for some friggin' reason. Said absolutely zero. Tried to pretend like it's not him that ruined everything, and it's not every Democrat on that stage that's ruined everything. I'll end it there. Let's stop this. Okay. Okay, stop sharing. Stop sharing. Okay. That's what I got out of the debate. I think the closing statements are a really good representation. Eric Swalwell was not there. That's a good representation of how Steve's doing in that. But you heard though, he even the way he sounds, even the quality of his voice sounds different than everybody else there. Not to mention what he was saying. And then he's, how this has been my desperate plea to Republicans in California forever since I moved here. Stop pretending you're Democrat light when you're running. You need to make a distinction. Why would a Democrat vote for a Republican when you could just vote for Democrats? The only reason you'd vote for a Republican is because you want something different. So Steve Hilton established himself as the something different, and Chad Bianco was nowhere to be seen. And so now for Chad, who's doing great among his base, people in Riverside County love him. It's a bit different when he gets out of Riverside County, and California's a big state. People in Riverside love him. But now, for the people who watch this debate who don't go find Republican news, and if you want to know about our Republican candidates, that's what you have to follow, right? Because our mainstream doesn't talk about them. You have to already be informed yourself, and we know the left is not informed. So for those people who have not informed themselves, and this is the only representation of the Republican in the race they're going to see, they now identify the Republican race with one single man, Steve Hilton, because there was no other Republican on that stage. It was a huge, huge fail for the Bianco campaign. And I almost feel bad for them. But I'm not sure what else they could have done, because I don't think Chad is a great debater. That does not mean he's not an intelligent man. I think you have to be an intelligent man to get to where he's gotten in his career, but debating on stage is something different, right? But that is the whole point, that being a governor is going to take like a wide range of skills, and Chad cannot accommodate. He doesn't have all of the skills that are going to be necessary, and he couldn't hang on the debate stage last night, even though I do think he could have done fine against a lot of those Democrats. But I don't think he is a man that can really talk confidently about strategy, plans, policy. And he probably would have looked a bit lacking next to Steve Hilton and maybe Matt Mahan. I was trying to think of any other Democrat on that stage who would have been a challenge. Like, no, Chad, obviously you're better than all of these Democrats, but you're not good enough to win against the field. And that's all I'm saying. That's what I think. And so I don't know, I'm trying to be fair as I can, while still staying true to what I believe. I'm trying to be fair. I don't know that he could have done. I don't know that it would have been great for his brand to be there last night, but I do know that it definitely hurt for him to not be there. And if I was one of Chad's major backers, I'd be asking if it's worth it to dump another 1 or 2 million into his race, only for him to lose the primaries and then cause Steve to lose them too. And now you're out all that money with absolutely zero to show for it. I don't think it's worth it. That's my opinion. I think, the Steve one, it's not even one of those things where you can look at it. Although, again, for shame, Fox 11 anchors, they tried, right? And I don't think anyone won this debate. No, what they mean is no Democrat won the debate. See, it wasn't even their own polling underneath them as they were talking said Steve Hilton won at 70%. Matt Mahan, who was the next strongest candidate, was polling at around 12 or 13. See, it's not even up for interpretation. It's not even one of those things where it's like, well, your filters inform how you see it. If you like Republicans, you thought he won. And if you like Democrats, you thought someone else won. No, it wasn't even like that. It wasn't even close. Steve won. And that is literally, again, I'm not just saying it. It's literally the best performance I have seen in a Republican debate since I've lived in California. The best. Typically, we don't even get to see a Republican candidate debate. Mostly, we don't even pretend that they're going to do anything. We've had the most uninspiring candidates All of them nice people, all of them completely useless politicians. I'm actually sick of it. I'm done with it. Orange County actually has a big problem with that too, right? Like we have so much money here, we've lost our passion. So we have lots of candidates who can get donor money. We have very few candidates who can inspire voters. That breaks my heart. That breaks my heart, because that's how we're going to win the war. Inspiration. Money will only get us so far. As we found out here in Orange County, we hit the wall with our money in 2022. We didn't have enough of it to win. And we're not going to have enough of it to win the state. We need money, obviously. And there are people who have worked hard their whole lives in California and give back by supporting the right politics. That's a great thing to do. Thank you. But it's useless if you dump it into a black hole of candidates who can't win, but just tell you what you want to hear. Do you want to win or not? We're at war. It's time to do everything differently. I'm challenging everybody in California, in the donor class, in the voting class, in the political class, to look at this for one time, one season only, if you wish. Look at this differently. This isn't a typical election cycle. This is war. We are at war. We are in the midst of a battle. We have a commander-in-chief who's engaged elsewhere. So the cavalry is not coming here. It's you. How serious are you about winning? How serious are you about winning? How serious are you? Are you serious enough to be realistic? I don't want anybody who's serious enough to be hopeful. I don't want your hope. I don't want anybody who's serious enough to say, the way America works is everybody just throws their hat in the ring and everybody just deserves a say. And oh, well, if it makes it so that Republicans just always lose, that's just how it goes. I'm tired of you people too. Sacrifices have to be made. Egos have to die. Pride has to go somewhere for a minute. You're going to have to give up your right to be right, because someone's got to push through to this primary. And if you're thinking that we're still going to do this business as usual, then you're part of the problem. And I think it's because you're too comfortable. If you're comfortable, you're not inspiring. And too many of you out there are too comfortable. You've already raised your kids. You live behind your gates. You live in your mansions. I'm talking to Republicans now, actually. You live in your mansions. You've sent your kids to your private schools. You traipse around Orange County and Southern California in your fancy cars. And you go visit your kids in the fancy places they live in, because they don't live here anymore, because you can't build a life here. And then you look at people like me and you say, Kira, you're too crazy. You're too passionate. I'm trying to get where you are. It's starting to make me think you don't want me there. Because you don't want to win so that people like me can get there. You don't want to win. What you want to do is close the gate so no one else can get there. That's a problem too. I'm sick of it all. I don't want to play these games anymore. Steve Hilton won that debate last night. He's the only Republican in this race who has a chance to win. And that's a chance. That's a chance. But it's more than we've had for 20 years. So I'm backing Steve Hilton. I'm calling on every Republican in this state to back Steve Hilton. And I'm asking Chad Bianco to drop out of the race before the primaries, not because it's fair and not because you haven't worked hard and you don't deserve a victory, but because it's the right thing to do. And the debate performance from Steve Hilton last night proved it. It's go time. And I don't know why. I feel like maybe this is a sign, right? Maybe this is a sign. I feel like I'm the only person out here who understands what's going on, that we are at war. We're really at war. I feel like I'm the only person who, again, maybe that's a sign. I'm the crazy one and I should calm down. You know what? It's been over an hour. Let me calm down right now and be on my way, because I still got to write up the review of the debate last night. And I've got a couple other things I want to talk about when it comes to this election. By the way, Prop 50, Supreme Court has declined to rule on that, or to let's see, they didn't reject it. They declined to rule on the district boundaries. So we're going into November with the Prop 50, with the new map. Okay, that's it. That's it. That's it. I didn't ever think it was going to be any other way. I felt the same way when we were fighting the Prop 50 battle, but you still have to fight the battles. This is why we have to get one candidate to Sacramento. Do you understand me? This is why, because right now, all we're doing is putting out fires, and Democrats got us running around like chickens with our heads cut off every other week. It's Prop 13, it's Prop 36, it's Prop 6, it's Prop 50, it's Prop what the hell ever. It's never ending freaking props here. And then we all get in a tizzy, and all the ladies, because it's the ladies doing the Lord's work out here in California. It's the club ladies. God bless you all. You are angels. The Republican club ladies get their clipboards and they drive themselves crazy and sacrifice their own time, their own money, their own comfort to get signatures and hopefully maybe win. Again, and we're just doing that for every little battle that comes along, and we have to stop. We can't do it anymore. We can't keep putting out fires. We've got to cut off the source of fuel. You're going to exhaust yourself this way. You've exhausted almost all of the Republican voters in California already. We cannot keep putting out fires. We have to win. And to do that, we start by taking the governor's office. It's too late to play games. We need to get behind one person. I'm doing it. I've made my case. I think it's a strong case. I really, truly believe, genuinely, and with my heart, this has nothing to do, actually, with personal feelings. Again, I reiterate and have said from the beginning, I think Chad Bianco is a fine man, and his wife seems like a good woman, and they seem like people who care. I have never said anything different. But these problems that I pointed out are problems for him. And if I was on his team and I was advising him, I would say that too. This is a big problem. And it's not going to be better for you in the generals. You might think, oh, I'm going to go get like the independent voters are going to, no, you're law enforcement. They're not going to vote for you. Those Democrats are not going to vote for you because you're law enforcement. Right? We've been just going through all this for the last 6 months. All right, I've completely exhausted every point I've made. This means I am at the end of my arguments. You write to me and tell me what you think. Write me at KiraDavis@protonmail.com. Hit me up here on X at Kira Davis, just Kira Davis on Instagram. And you can go to my Substack, just Kira Davis on Substack, obviously. And my podcast, Journey to Christmas Land. My Christmas Land podcast. So if you're tired of politics and you don't want any politics, go enjoy that podcast. I do it with my BFF, Amelia Hamilton, and we talk about cheesy Hallmark Christmas movies. We have so much fun. We had a great time, and we're reviewing the Super Bowl. There's a Hallmark Super Bowl movie coming up, you guys. So we're reviewing that. Go sign up for that. All right. Thanks for tuning in. Go Steve Hilton. I actually believe we can win California, and I don't think we're going to do it with Chad. And I'm sorry to say that again, but I do think we need to rally behind one candidate. Steve Hilton proved last night, without a doubt, beyond a shadow of a doubt in my mind, that he is the man for the job. He's the outsider we need, and this is where we start to fix California, and I think we can do it. I genuinely believe that this is doable, but it's going to take a Herculean effort. And I'm ready. I'm committed. Are you?